Anatomy and physiology is one of the major, subjects which are forming the backbone of medical course. Now, entire thing is that without wasting much time, the first question was correct parts of stomach in order according to what you're able to see from your hand. We had fundus, the cardiac, and atrium. Cardiac, fundus, body. So this guy never gave out a correct order in a way of either from up to top, from up to bottom or from bottom to up. So in either way, the choices were two. From your hand, if you can see, there were two answers correct. You can start from cardiac, fundus, body. Then cardiac, you need to know the top post of the stomach, which is next to the cardiac. That is why it's referred to as the cardiac, the heart. Then fundus, the middle of the stomach. Then the atrium. From fundus and the body are the same. So we can call fundus or body fundus, then body. Immediate after body is when you go to atrium. So the order is supposed to be either cardiac, fundus, body, or when you start from the lower hand, we have the atrium, pylorus, then body. Now the rest were wrong. Chief cells produces. Chief cells are one of the components of the cellular structure of the gastric. They have a secretional depending on the second and the third message sequence, but mostly the second messenger sequence that we call the cyclic amino monophosphate. Now, the third thing you need to know is that the chief cells produce pepsinogen and hydrochloric acid, parietal cells in the gastric spine. Then pepsinogen changes to pepsin. Then gastric juice is now what contains the hydrochloric acid, the pepsin, the renin, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. So the entire thing you just need to know pepsinogen, the main thing secreted by chief cells. Now the next question is simple. Choose the correct match. Now match in what? In anything. When somebody says match, can be match in meaning, match in whatever. So you can see ascending colon moves downwards, then descending colon moves upwards, transverse colon moves across, then all of the above. So what you need to know is simple. Ascending colon, something ascending is supposed to be moving up, not downward. So it's wrong. Then descending is supposed to be moving downward, not up. So the transverse colon, the colon part which passes across the abdomen, the belly, it passes across. So you just need to know the location, the structural orientation of the colon. All above is wrong. Not an accessory organ of gastrointestinal tract. I need you to understand the fact that the GIT is kind of long. It's composed of a duct and then organ system, just like any other organ system. It has got several organs, and so we have various organs. So here you need to know the non-accessory organs and the accessory organs. So teeth, salivary glands, and the pancreas normally plays the major role of accessory. So the non-accessory, which was the main organ here, is stomach. That is not an accessory organ. Accessory organ only gave a shade of light on it, enable other organs to now facilitate their process. So it's like just giving an accessory to the other parts in terms of functional physiological basis. Salivary gland. Another question is a salivary gland found anterior to the ear. So you need to know we have three salivary glands. So we have sublingual, parotid, and submandibular. Sublingual is found below from the word sublingual. Then lingual is tongue, below the tongue. Parotid is the correct one, next to the anterior of the ear. Then submandibular normally next to the facial angle, or maybe just say the curved wall of the angle of jaw. Yeah, normally next to the maxilla, between maxillary vein and the facial vein. Then none of the above is incorrect. An endocrine function of pancreas. Pancreas is an organ which serves both as exocrine and endocrine. Its endocrine determination is kind of simple. Now the endocrine function of pancreas is that it entails the islet of Langerhans endocrine component which secretes insulin and glucagon. Each of these are very important and significant in maintaining and regulating the blood sugar. When it comes to, let's talk about the what are the answers here. So the main thing is we just check whether endocrine, it has to do with something with insulin and glucagon. Now the first one, producing insulin and glycogen, the glycogen thing has actually destroyed the entire thing, so that is wrong. Producing pancreatic juice on the other hand, it's not from this, that is not endocrinal, but that is now exocrinal because it's used to digest food by that. So, and again, it uses the duct system, not the blood like endocrines. They normally stream their hormones in the blood for transportation. Now it produces glucagon, and that is the correct one. So the correct answer was C, according to this, C. Then liver has how many lobes? So you just need to know the lobes of liver. Yeah, Yeah, so first of all, the answer they're supposed to be 4 actually. Yeah, and again, you need to know the names of each lobe. Actually, we normally have the superior surface, the inferior surface of leaf. We have the left lobe, the right lobe, then we have the caudate lobe and the quadrate lobe. Left, right, caudate, and quadrate. You can call it quadrate. So that is that. And you also need to know the septa, which separate each lobe out there, and then the circulation in the liver and the component, the structure of the liver is also important. The deglutition is also called, that's simple, very easy swallowing, right? Yeah, and the enzyme produced in the stomach except pepsinogen in the stomach, renin, the one is responsible to the carcinogen, breaking down the carbon to the soluble casein. Then you have the gastrin, then amylase. Amylase is either being produced in the mouth or it's produced in the pancreatic amylase. It digests the lipids in the duodenum. That is, but not in the stomach. So the correct answer is the amylase in that sector. Then keratinocytes are found in, first, the keratin. These are dead, proteinous dead tissue which are found normally in the some part of epithelium, some typical epithelium, like mostly you can find them on your palm, on your skin. So here we have dermis, epidermis, both or none. So dermis inside the skin, so that you can't get the dead component of the skin inside there, but epidermis is the correct answer here. Which of the following involves secretion by duct system? This one must be exocrine, because endocrine deals with the blood. Now, which integumentary structure? That is normally hair, the one epidermal appendage hair. Then the presence of an extra chromosome is called trisomy. That is chromosome number 3, which is for vague one. Normal adult blood capacity supported with 300 to 400 mils per day. Then which brain lobe, the brain lobe, if injured, results to memory loss and impairment. So you just need to know function of various brain lobe. Yeah. So starting with the frontal lobe, when somebody asks you the function of frontal lobe, you need to know this is where the cortex of the brain is composed. First of all, the frontal lobe is important for voluntary movement, so it does decision of moving. Yeah, it also helps in expressive language, so you will forget your language at most when your collision result to interference in the brain, the frontal lobes. And then it can also help in managing higher levels of executive functions. Yeah, so like hard decision, maybe calculation and so on. So you can talk about it, execute function, refer to the collection, the cognitive skills, including the capacity to plan, organize, initiate, self-monitoring, and controls one response to achieve a goal. So that's one under one category. So again, somebody again can ask you what is the function of occipital lobe? Right? Lobe, occipital lobe of the brain. So such questions like are very common, and their students normally tend to forget them immediately as they learn them. So for the occipital, just at the back of the head, and it's responsible for visual perception. That is where the nerve, the oculomotor, the trochlea, all those ones which are coming from the eye. Yeah, there is where now their perception are integrated. So that is that. So they control the visual perception, including color from motion and stationary objects. So when you damage the occipital lobe, you can be having very difficult in locating objects in your environment. Now, when you talk about temporal, that is the answer, temporal bone, because temporal bone is where now, lobe is where now the brain component in terms of memory is stored. So let's say temporal lobe, that is what you need to know, is that one of the fourth lobes of the cortex, responsible interpreting sound from ears, plays role in recognizing and using language. It also helps to recognize and interact with other structures to create new and long-term memories. So that is where we keep them. That is why when you forget everybody after waking up in the hospital, definitely you can't miss. You have a terrible damage in your temporal lobe. So parietal as well, you shall check on parietal at your free time. And then the last question was water soluble vitamin. This is supposed to be water soluble vitamin. So then non-water soluble, the lipid soluble ones, the formula is ADEK. ADEK is a low term meaning 3. ADEK. ADEK. Those are non-water soluble or the lipid soluble. So the remaining one is B and C. So B and C is always water soluble. So in this category there's no B. That one gives a chance for C. That is that. Have a nice time. Always remember to subscribe in Medical Students Arena YouTube channel.